In other news, the All Progressives Congress APC has strongly refuted allegations by a faction of the African Democratic Congress ADC, describing the claims against President Bola Tinubu and the ruling party as baseless and misleading. At a press conference delivered by APC National Secretary Senator Ajibola Bashiru on behalf of the party's National Working Committee in response to an earlier briefing by a faction of ADC leadership led by former Senate President David Mark, Bashiru stated that the opposition's claims that the president is weakening political parties to impose a one-party state ahead of 2027 are unfounded and lack constitutional basis. It said the ADC's current leadership crisis stems from internal disputes rather than an external interference, adding that the electoral body acted in strict compliance with a Court of Appeal ruling.
On the deliberate mischief and puerile propaganda of Senator David Mark and his co-travelers parading themselves as coalition politicians at the ignoble press conference held on Thursday, 2 April 2026. The highlights of their press conference, shorn of the unwarranted verbal vituperations, are as follows. They claim President Bola Tinubu is deliberately weakening opposition party to force a one-party state ahead of 2027. They also contended that INEC acted unlawfully by withdrawing recognition of their leadership, misinterpreting the Court of Appeal's order that status quo ante bellum should be maintained, and thereby they were calling that, saying that INEC has taken side against them.
Bashiru further criticized the ADC faction for allegedly disregarding court orders by insisting on proceeding with congresses and conventions despite ongoing litigation, while describing the demand as reckless and indicative of lack of understanding of democratic institutions.
Dispassionately and lay bare the facts of the matters at stake, with a view to not only to show the falsehood being peddled by David Mark and his co-travelers, but to enlighten Nigerians and the international community about the unserious nature of the so-called opposition coalition. They claim that President Tinubu is weakening opposition to force a one-party ahead of the 2027 election. It seems David Mark and his co-traveler were not aware that as of today, there are 19 registered political parties in Nigeria, with all of them having potential to compete in the 2027 election. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by law under the Constitution, has no power to deregister or to meddle into affairs of any political party.
The party further stated that the decision being implemented by INEC followed the dismissal of an appeal filed by Senator Mark and his faction. It therefore warned that continued disregard for legal processes could have consequences.